Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City of Muskegon City Commission meeting for July 8th, 2014. Before we start the proceedings, I'd like to call forward Mr. George Monroe from Evanston Avenue Baptist Church to lead us in prayer, and that will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Monroe.
Shall we pray? Our dear Heavenly Father, again we thank you for the privilege we can be here, Lord. We would pray that you would be with our manager and our mayor, our commissioners and our clerk, Lord, that you would protect them at all times. I'll just thank you and I'll give you all the praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Monroe. May we have roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Spataro.
Here.
Commissioner German.
Here.
Commissioner Muskegon.
Here.
Commissioner Turnquist.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson. Absent. Mayor Gallren.
Here.
Commissioner Hood.
Here.
Thank you. That leads us to consent agenda.
Approval of minutes, City Clerk, summary request. To approve minutes of the June 24th City Commission meeting. Staff recommendation, approval of the minutes. Farmers Market, Second Amendment to Purchase Agreement, Planning Economic Development, summary request. Due to the weather conditions during the winter of 2013-2014, the construction of the new downtown Farmers Market has taken longer than anticipated. Final items are being completed by the contractor, and final approvals and payments are required prior to transferring the property from the DMDC to the city. The City Commission approved a First Amendment to Purchase Agreement in May. It is necessary to extend the closing date further. Therefore, Commission is requested to enter into a Second Amendment to Purchase Agreement. The amendment allows for continued operation of the farmers market prior to the official closing on the property, with the city fully responsible for and all liability related to operating the farmers market during that time. The closing is moved to August 8, 2014 or before. Staff recommendation to approve the Second Amendment to Purchase Agreement and authorize the city manager's signature after the fact. Special event request, Catamaran Racing Association of Michigan, Planning Economic Development. Summary request. CRAM is holding their annual Catamaran Sailing Regatta at Pure Marquette Park, July 25th through the 27th of 2014. They are again requesting permission for their participants to camp overnight at the park as they have done in previous years. They would like to use the city-owned parking lot across from the former Captain Jack's restaurant for overnight camping, provided that the new owners, Harris Hospitality, approve. If they are unable to use that lot, they request to use the parking lot at Harbortown Beach. They expect around 10 RVs in the lot overnight. This is the event's 7th year of operation, and there have been no problems in the past with this group. They will provide proof of liability insurance. Staff recommendation to approve overnight camping at Pure Marquette Park for this event on July 25th, 26th, and 27th of 2014.
Commissioners, you've heard the consent agenda as presented. Are there either one of these items you'd like to have removed for further discussion? And I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve this consent agenda as read.
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Hood, and I got my pick of three, I think.
It don't matter.
Commissioner German, to accept the consent agenda as read. Any discussion? No? Roll call, please.
Commissioner German?
Yes.
Commissioner Muskegon?
Yes.
Commissioner Turnquist?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Mayor Gallren?
Yes.
Commissioner Hood?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Spataro?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask just one question?
Please.
I'm just wondering what the deck response was to using the lot. Are they going to, does anybody know that? Are they going to use the Harbortown area, or
I think it's still to be determined.
they were going to ask, according to the,
I got an email at 5:12 tonight saying that they had just heard back from Andrew Harris, and he said he would not have a problem letting the CRAM group use the parking lot across the street as they have in the past.
I'm a little surprised. The place has been packed. They're doing very well down there, very well.
And you're buying dinner tonight afterwards?
Sure.
Okay, great. Did we do roll call yet or no?
Yes.
We did. Okay.
Yes.
Then that takes us to new business.
Codification of city ordinances, city clerk, summary request. Approximately every 10 years, the city's ordinances are reviewed for errors, omissions, additions, deletions, changes to sections affected by previous modifications, and to be sure they comply with state law. Staff, the city attorney, and the attorney from Muni Code reviewed all ordinances and have compiled a list of recommended changes that have been forwarded to commissioners. To simplify changes to any fees, we have removed the amount of fees in the ordinances and will add them into our user fee resolution to save future publication costs. Staff recommendation to adopt the ordinance to enact a new code of ordinance for the city of Muskegon and authorize the user fees to be added to the user fee resolution.
Vice Mayor?
I would move that we adopt the ordinance to enact a new code of ordinances for the city of Muskegon and authorize the user fees to be added to the user fee resolution.
Second.
It's been moved by Vice Mayor, seconded by Commissioner Rinsema-Savinga to adopt the ordinance to enact a new code of ordinance for the city of Muskegon and authorize user fees to be added to the user fee resolution. Any discussion or questions?
There was a question about the sumac last night. Did we find anything about that?
Yes, I was able to check, and it's for, you have to maintain it.
Okay.
So
You don't have to remove.
You do not have to
large
remove it.
trees Near the
It's-
houses.
Right,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
So, that-
Vice Mayor?
Hey, that depends on whether or not you want your foundation.
Yeah, well, we're not forcing you to.
Right.
Right. That's correct.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Rinsema-Saviga?
Yes.
Commissioner Turnquist?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Mayor Galvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Hood?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Spataro?
Yes.
Commissioner German?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item B, please.
No parking front side yard ordinance amendment, public safety. Summary request. The Director of Public Safety requests that the City Commission review and authorize the proposed amendment to Section 8.101 of the city ordinance as it relates to parking violators that do not park in designated areas in residential sections. The amendment would add subsection Y, no parking unimproved front side yards of a residential lot resulting in the issuance of a municipal civil infraction. The police department receives numerous complaints that vehicles parked in these unimproved lot areas adding to property blight and generate unnecessary calls for service which cannot be mitigated by the police department at this time. Staff recommendation, staff recommends approving this ordinance amendment as written.
Commissioner?
I'd like to make a motion to approve this ordinance amendment as written related to no parking on the front or side yard.
Second?
It's been moved by Commissioner Rinsema-Savinga, seconded by the Vice Mayor, to approve the ordinance amendment referencing no parking front side yard ordinance amendment. Discussion or questions? Commissioner?
We had one resident last night at the work session voice some opposition to that. Have we had any other opposition comments come into the office?
None that I received. And again, a reminder that the prohibition has pre-existed. It's just this amendment now allows for the police department to address the complaint as opposed to prior it had to be handled through our zoning coordinator. Commissioner German?
Oh, excuse me. My question is, okay, now for residential parking, someone that owns the property, are you saying that they can't park there on their own property?
No, they never could.
They never could?
No.
On the side,
On the side yard, on any grassy or any unimproved area.
unimproved, okay?
Okay.
All right.
I was just going to comment that I think the concern last night was the definition of what was constituted improved that wasn't clear. And we heard from the police chief that it doesn't have to be concrete. It could be any effort to make it a landing pad, a parking pad, whether it's gravel or whatnot. So I think, and that was not conveyed in the Chronicle article either. So I think that it's important that we get that out, that this is not requiring you to lay concrete in order to have a parking pad in your side yard.
Vice Mayor?
Thanks. Actually, this is kind of getting back to the original question. I've been here longer than anybody, and this has been an ongoing source of complaints for my entire tenure. People parking in the front yards, parking in side yards, not where there's a driveway, but where there's grass or would be grass if people weren't using it as a parking space. So we do get a lot of complaints about non-compliance with this. And all this does is it changes who has the ability to enforce the rule, and it actually reduces the fine by $85. It goes from a $100 fine to a $15 fine. So in that sense, it's less onerous on the property owner. And one of the things that you find, and I see this on my own block, is that where people are using yard for parking, well, how are they getting there? And in many instances, what they're doing is they're driving over the curb. And you don't have to drive around too many residential blocks and pick your neighborhood. And the curbs, in many instances, are really in bad shape. And one of the reasons that they have broken down is that they're not designed for people to drive over. And so if people are routinely basically jumping the curb so they can park in an unimproved front or side yard, it's damaging city property, and we're asking the citizens to help fix that stuff. So, I mean, there's a cost to that as well. So I think this is a reasonable amendment. I certainly intend to support it. I think it makes it less onerous, but at the same time, a little more enforceable. And I appreciate the fact that it gives us some latitude that if somebody is making a good faith effort to comply, that we're not prescribing a specific, it has to be blacktop, it has to be concrete, that kind of thing. I think having some flexibility here is very important.
Commissioner?
I just want to reiterate the importance of making that clear on the improvement, what is considered improvement.
Yeah, and we should be clear, probably that'd be a better question for Mike, who's not here. I don't know that crushed concrete is an allowable approved surface or not. Looks like Jeff wants to
Let
say
me just
something.
clarify one thing, the intent of this.
Thank you. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. As Mike would state if he was here, is in the zoning ordinance, you're not allowed to park on the actual, have a parking lot or park in the front yard. It talks about the front yard under section 2311. But what we did is, we, the police department, could actually go into the zoning ordinance and try to enforce that portion of our ordinance and zoning. But as Commissioner Spataro stated, it would be a $100 fine if we, the police, started doing this. We've had multiple complaints, and Mike is not able, he doesn't have, the means to get out and answer all these complaints. That's why it's more onus for us to do it, to go out and find these vehicles parked on the grassy areas in the front and side yards and enforce those during our patrol. So I quickly went under Chapter 92 of the Traffic and Vehicles of Article 2 of the Uniform Traffic Code, which the city adopted many, many years ago. And in that, there's about 24 different things that the police department actually writes tickets for presently. And here's an example of a few. Parked on a sidewalk within 15 feet of a hydrant, in front of a public driveway, blocking a mailbox, and it goes on almost 24 other times on those small minor things. Parking on the terrace is also included, and that's a $15 fine. Between the sidewalk and the curb is what we define as the terrace. That's that grassy area. Well, we noticed a lot of these cars are parked on the grassy front area or on the grassy area next to their home. They're not on a driveway. So if you were to apply to planning and economics, let's say to take a grassy area and you had a uniform curb cut and you got the proper permitting, you could improve that area from the grass up to where you could park your vehicle. What we're trying to get done, it doesn't apply to that. It doesn't apply to a dirt driveway, a gravel driveway, blacktop, whatever you have that is acceptable to the city for a driveway that's usually adjacent to a curb cut. But as the commissioner was saying, a lot of times people go up over the curb and just park in the grass. And it's very evident to any officer or code enforcement officer that they're parked on the grassy area on the front or the side of their homes. And that's why we're asking this to go in. This will actually be under that section, 810, it'll be Y, which is an unimproved side and front yard of residential property, which means the grassy areas that are not designed for parked vehicles. If that helps everyone understand.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, excuse me, Chief. Okay, you said as long as they have a entrance to the side of the house, if it's a driveway that's already constructed more or less, it's all right to drive a park right there, and they have the option to improve that area? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, many people either widen their driveway
Right.
area in different means, which we're not going to get into. What the police officers are doing is when we get a complaint that a vehicle is parked, like somewhere in the yard, sometimes they're in the rear and they fall under the junk vehicle ordinance, we go out and we look. So if you had, let's say, a dirt driveway and you had a curb cut coming off the street, you had a couple of cars parked there, that's fine. But if you were to make like a right turn, for instance, and go up and block your sidewalk on your grassy area in your front yard, we would probably give you a ticket because you're parked on the front yard, which is the grassy, unimproved area, because you've left your visual driveway area.
Right, and that's understandable.
Yeah, that's what we're combating here. And believe it or not, we get a lot of complaints citywide that people will like have a driveway on the left side of their home, then they have like a grassy area in the front, they'll have a grassy area in the right, and there's a car sitting there. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of reasons why they park their car in the front or side yards.
Okay.
And, but we're just trying to combat the complaints we get. And then, of course, the officers, instead of having one enforcer, we're going to have the officers on patrol division that can also force 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Because a lot of our complaints come in the evenings and weekends. And by the time Mike Franzik gets there on Monday or Tuesday, the complainant's upset and the vehicle's long gone. So,
Thank you.
Commissioner?
It's a little bit tangential, but you brought up the list of the 24, 25 things,
Yes.
parking prohibitions, one of which is no parking in front of the theater. That may have very well predated your tenure here, but do you have any idea why that's included amongst the prohibitions, the rationale behind it?
yeah, generally a theater is, in front of the theater is what they would call like a fire lane. They want to keep that open for all the people coming out. Now we mark those pretty clearly in front of theaters, malls, whatever, like fire lanes. But I can't remember the last time we wrote a parking in front of the theater ticket.
Okay.
Because if you went down there, you'd probably see it marked as a fire lane, and that'd be the ticket that you'd get.
Because Harbor has street parking, Harbor Theater on Lakeshore has street
Yeah.
parking right in front of it. So, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I certainly don't want patron of Harbor to getting ticketed
Right.
for parking from there. But that's not designated as,
No.
marked as no parking.
And you'll notice, if it's been allowed, if the engineer has allowed that parking, you don't see the officers coming along and enforcing the theater unless it's been marked properly.
So that
And
may have
that's
just
what we're
been
trying to do.
grandfathered in whenever this
Yeah,
was
yeah.
added.
But
That
there's,
theater's been around
then you've
for a
looked at the
while.
list, it's pretty extensive. And it's a tool that we use to just basically control vehicular traffic around structures and parks and, you know, in residential areas.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anything else? Thank you, Chief. Thank you. Anything else, Commissioners? Not, roll call, please.
Commissioner Turnquist?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Mayor Gallron?
Yes.
Commissioner Hood?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Spataro?
Yes.
Commissioner German?
Yes.
Commissioner Rissa-Masibiga?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. May we have item C, please?
Consideration of bid for Merrill Avenue reconstruction between 5th and 3rd Engineering. Summary request, award the reconstruction of Merrill from 5th to 3rd contract to Accurate Excavators LLC since they were the lowest responsible bidder with a total bid price of $295,197.95. Staff recommendation, award the contract to Accurate Excavators LLC.
Motion to approve
Second.
the contract to Accurate Excavators LLC.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Johnson, seconded by Commissioner German to award the contract to Accurate Excavators LLC for the Merrill Avenue reconstruction between 5th and 3rd. Any discussion or questions?
Question.
Yes.
Okay, I guess my question is, I guess the improvement for that street of Merle, what was it that was brought to your attention, that the city's attention, that that street needed improvement? And could you just elaborate, you know?
This is one of those streets that was a utility-driven type of project, if you will. The sanitary sewer was in need of some repairs. So when the guys investigated and TV that sewer, we found that we needed to do some repair when we were preparing the budget last year. This is a project that was on the 2013/2014 list. And because of the fiscal year and calendar year, if you will, we ended up doing the design in 2013-14 and carried the actual construction into 2014-15. But it was a utility-driven project at that time, and we figured if we're gonna go that deep to repair and replace the sanitary sewer, we might as well catch the pavement as well.
Okay, thank you.
When's the project's expected to start?
Well, I'm glad you asked the question, because I wanted to bring to your attention is also the budget action required on this project here is because of the projects that are in the 2014-15 budget, and I'm counting on Frank, or the manager, and Derek to help me out here if I slip, that the 2014-15 project list, or the projects listed in the 2014-15, they're contingent upon the millage also passing, if you will, in the local streets. So if the millage doesn't pass, we're gonna have to do something at some point, and that's where I think in my budget action required, I'm asking permission to, if you approve this project, to allow the transfer of funds from major street to local street if the millage does not pass.
Correct. That was presented within the packet.
So then when would it start?
Well, July. Excuse me.
Sorry.
Thank you. We're anticipating that 10 days from tomorrow that the contract will be ready, so I'm hoping by middle of August.
Okay.
So
Commissioner Jensen?
the 2013-2014 budget only had the engineering costs included in that. And the 2014-2015 had this listed among the projects contingent upon the millage, basically. Okay. So we're just we're just allowing a transfer of money in advance of that millage.
If the millage doesn't pass, in November.
So we're gonna wait till November to?
No,
keep
we'll do
moving
the
on this
construction.
project?
No.
Okay.
We'll be
it's
paying for
happening
the
July.
local
Okay.
street.
Okay.
We'll accept it, we're accepting the bid, and then
Yes.
Okay.
we're digging holes.
So basically, we're saying if we don't, we're gonna do this project, and if the millage doesn't pass, we're gonna take money budgeted
From the
from
major,
major
right.
streets
Right.
and apply it to this local street project
Mhm.
right now.
Right.
So there'll be less work to be able to do in major streets.
Or
Correct.
less fund balance.
Okay.
Right.
And will there be an increase in property taxes for those citizens in that area?
Like we said before, only in that house on that address where you live.
Okay, yeah, I got a bone to pick with you guys anyway.
No,
No, there's no assessment.
This has no
I'm just
bearing on
joking.
the increases, on the interest or
Okay.
taxes.
All right, thank you.
Anything else, gentlemen? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Mayor Galvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Hood?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Spataro?
Yes.
Commissioner German?
Yes.
Commissioner Winsome Sibiga?
Yes.
Commissioner Turnquist?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Commissioners, is there any other business to bring? Vice Mayor?
Just one item, I ran into our building official from Safe Built at lunch today, and I expressed my concern about the number of lots with excessively long grass. And apparently, they had made some changes that were less restrictive on the contractors than when we were administering that directly, and they're working on that. But I've been hearing from people, and just having your eyes open while you're going around, we do seem to have a problem with that this summer. So, hopefully we can catch that up, and I mean, there's nothing that looks worse than a weedy yard. I mean, if you want to have natural plantings and things like that, that's not what we're talking about. But if you have a lawn that you've just let go and it's unkept, that affects everybody else's property and their enjoyment of their neighborhood. So I just wanted to pass that along.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just to add that, I heard from a lady last night, who was commenting about her complaints in the neighborhood about properties not being kept, and the amount of time it took for Safe Build to get out there to respond to it. Whereas juxtaposed with Safe Build being right on top of you if you got a 2x4 in your yard, and saying, you need a building permit. So they're very quick to deal with that and get people to get building permits if they have any construction materials out there, but it looks like they're not as on top of things with regard to environmental upkeep.
Talk about it.
Okay. Hopefully, we'll get through this learning curve. More importantly, hopefully we'll reach a day where citizens will begin acting responsibly and with respect in regards to their neighbors and their fellow citizens, so that we don't get the brunt of being called the jackbooters because people don't know how to be good neighbors and maintain unkempt properties, if you can, or worse. I would like to extend a word of gratitude to our city clerk and to our manager secretary, Barb Schellenberg, for their wondrous efforts leading up to last week's visit from our sister city delegation from Omuta, Japan. It was a wonderful time because of your great efforts in partnering with the Sister Cities organization. We shined as a community. So hats off to you, Ann, and to Barb, and to the Sister Cities Committee. And I know for a fact that Mayor Koga and the delegation had a wonderful visit here in Muskegon. So thank you. Thank you kindly. Anything else, commissioners? Then we can move to public comment. I have a number of requests for speakers. Individuals are kept to 3 minutes, give or take. And when I call you forward, if you could please give your name and address just for the record. Then please address the council, and we will take your comments and concerns under consideration, and if need be, refer you or have the appropriate staff member contact you in order to work out the issues within that concern. Mr. Rappaport, if you'd like to take the podium.
Thank you, Mayor Gowan, and thank you for the good job that all of you do. I'm Roger Rappaport. I live at 1487 Glen Avenue. This is the first time I've ever addressed the Muskegon City Council, and I've lived here twice. My time in Muskegon goes back to 1958. I'm here today because I would like you to close the dog beach at Cruz Park because it's a failure on every ground. I know that you were there Thursday. Mohammed Al-Shatel was there also Thursday. I was there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and this is what I saw. Dog waste on the walk out of the parking lot leading down to the staircase where you have to dodge dogs coming up and down at all hours. At one point, there were over 100 people on the staircase and the viewing area above it watching a wedding, and the dogs were struggling and their owners were struggling to get through. The parking lot was completely full. I personally witnessed dogs off leash all over the area. There were over 100 dogs in the area that I spotted. Many of them were off leash, some of them running into the supposed non-dog area, what's left of it. It's almost a mile down to Pier Marquette, and that area from the staircase, the fenced area, all the way down is effectively a dog beach, which was never the original intention of the city council to create a mile-long dog beach in the greatest beach, probably the greatest beach our city has. In addition to that, I personally spoke to two dog owners who, one of them standing literally in front of the no dog sign on the no dog section of the beach, who was walking with his dog. Another person who was actually playing with his dog in the water in the non-dog section, who had no idea that this was not a dog area. All the dogs, of course, not only are they off-leash on the dog area, I've seen them off-leash over the years many, many times going up and down the dunes. Of course, obviously, they're there for hours, so they all have to urinate. The distinction between the dog beach and the non-dog beach is absolutely non-existent at the water line, which means the dogs can just run through out of the dog area into the non-dog area with their owners chasing them. In one case on Friday, I saw a woman chasing her dog for 5 minutes before she finally nailed him and dragged him back to the dog beach. There are children walking on this boardwalk barefoot with their parents. There was diarrhea on Saturday, which I pointed out to a parks employee, the only city employee that I saw there the whole time. There are no longer any park rangers. The city doesn't have the money to enforce this. We are a magnet for dog owners from all over the state and other areas. There is not another city anywhere that does this. The only other dog beach that I've seen was when I was at Indian River a couple of weeks ago. You drive up into a parking lot in a flat area, you walk on a fenced area, there's fences on either side, you walk down a fence path to a fenced beach, you can't leave it. There are warnings handed out. If you go outside of that area, you can be fined, evicted from the park, thrown out of your campsite, and told to leave on the spot. And there are rangers there all day long and into the night till 2 in the morning to enforce it. Contrast this with Muskegon, where there's no enforcement at all. I've never seen anyone ever get cited for any of the things I'm telling you about. By the way, the city has a volunteer program, or apparently a volunteer program, where volunteers put plastic bags at the top of the staircase, which I've been complaining about. There were none of them on Saturday at all, which meant that unless you brought your own, you had to remove the dog waste with your bare hands or whatever towels you brought with you. This situation has deteriorated to the point where I believe it is a public nuisance, and I think it's actually kind of a disgrace to a city that takes itself very seriously. I just heard someone say that if you have a 2x4 in your front yard, the city's going to be there asking you where your construction permit is. I don't understand how in such a well-run, well-managed city we got to the point where any of this happened. Maybe you see it differently. I don't know, Mohammed, maybe you see it differently. But I can tell you this, dog owners have no sense of humor about their dogs. And they're lovely people, and their dogs are lovely. But I can tell you, if any of them showed up at your front door and their dog was urinating on your front lawn or going to the bathroom in any other way, and they were running off leash, you'd probably call the police, which is what I would do. And I don't understand for a minute why this situation has been allowed to deteriorate to the point that it has. I've written you all a letter about it. I think I'm a fair-minded person, but what I saw this weekend was just inexcusable.
Okay.
Thank you.
We will be discussing this.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll be in touch with you.
Thanks.
Okay, you bet. Mr. Cody, is it Yothers?
Hi, thanks for your time. I'm Cody Yothers. I live at 1239 Terrace Street. I'm here to represent a group of Muskegon community gardeners. This comment comes in response to a recent draft of the new community gardening ordinance, which I understand has not been presented to the committee or the commission officially. Still, we think that this is the time to foster some open discussion on the topic of urban farms and community gardens selling produce in their community. And to be clear, the current draft allows gardeners to distribute produce on a donation basis. So this is just kind of a first call to get it, out in the open, and I think Healthy Muskegon will be facilitating a presentation to the City Council in the near future. In order to tailor that discussion, I was wondering what initial concerns you may have about community gardeners selling their produce.
At this point, the draft has not officially been received. It's still a work in progress. And in discussions, our intent would be to come out publicly to neighborhood associations and the like to discuss the issues regarding the draft. But as of this point, this commission has not had an opportunity to receive the draft nor discussion at this point, and we would still be taking public input.
Okay, thank you.
Deborah Warren. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Warren, and I live at 126 North Washington in Grand Haven, actually. I lived and grew up in Norton Shores, moved away for a while. Now I'm back in West Michigan, not quite back to Muskegon yet. Very excited about Muskegon, work in Muskegon as a dietitian with community nutrition. So I work with youth and adults with disabilities, teaching them cooking skills, grocery shopping skills, gardening skills, things that I get really excited about and are pretty empowering things. So I'm just here to talk about the same thing that Cody just was up here talking about, saying that that population and much of the population of Muskegon, excuse me, would be very impacted if they were not able to buy local food from urban farms in Muskegon or sell and harvest it themselves. With the donation basis that is mentioned in the current language, that leaves out all EBT users. The ability to buy local food from your community and use the Double Up Bucks program, if anybody's familiar with that, is pretty important, pretty empowering, and huge for a healthy lifestyle and a healthy community. So I'm just really supportive of local food being produced and sold to your neighbors in the city of Muskegon. I think it can make a big, big impact on the city. And in this talk about it time, I'm a yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, luckily at this time, we've had great success with EBT, double bucks at the farmer's market to the tune of almost, $200,000 a year. So, we do see the success and the benefit of, having that, benefit to the community. But thank you, and we will be continuing to review and see how this rolls out.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Are there any other members of the public that would like to address? Please.
My name is Chris Willis. I live at 3066 Knollwood Court in Muskegon. I'm here, I'm sorry, and I apologize for my attire. I did not plan to address the board today. I'm here to represent Friends of Muskegon Dog Beach. We are the group that does the volunteer organization of provides bags at Dog Beach, coordinates with the Kennel Club. What I'd like to say today is I do recognize that there are and there have been legitimate concerns at Dog Beach. Our group has been loosely formed volunteer organization, and many members of BBNA, Beechwood Bluffton Neighborhood Association, do regularly walk the beach and try and help with cleanup, especially on these busy weekends. These issues that we're having have been extraordinarily exacerbated by the fact that Beach Street has been closed and the north entrance to Dog Beach has been, basically access has been blocked to north entrance of Dog Beach, forcing all dog use owners to use the Cruzy Park entrance to Dog Beach. And the dogs running freely along that area has been basically because the road has been closed, and so basically it kind of opened up as a nobody else is here, we might as well use it as Dog Beach. We don't expect either of those we expect things to go back more to the way they were before when Beach Street is back open and there is a designated north end of Dog Beach and a designated south end of Dog Beach that is basically naturally formed by the dune, the half-mile dune that protects Dog Beach and keeps the dogs from running out on the road. So we do expect that to have we do expect things to get better. Having said that, there have been ongoing issues, and Dog Beach has a wonderful problem of, it appeared in the Detroit Free Press last week. Dog Beach, when you talk about a placemaking effort and having a community that has a gem that attracts people globally, that's Muskegon Dog Beach. What we need to do is get to the heart of where the problems are and do some studies and research of where are the real issues and what can we do to solve these issues, not close down one of the greatest gems that Muskegon has. I know people in my neighborhood, myself included, who have moved here. A house goes up on the market in my neighborhood and it's snapped up like that by somebody who wants to live next to Dog Beach. So what I recommend to the City Commission, please, is that we form a work group of stakeholders, including people from Friends of Muskegon Dog Beach, BBNA, Beechwood Bluffton Neighborhood Association, possibly Lakeside or other areas, bordering neighbors, that we include somebody from Kennel Club, somebody from Parks Department, and a public representative in this work group to identify these issues and try and get to the heart of what the real problems are. Look at what other areas are doing. Grand Haven does have a dog area. It is an on-lead dog beach, but they do have a dog area in Grand Haven. Rosie Mound has a dog beach area. So we are not unusual in that we have this. What is unusual is our particular beach and the amount of use that we get and the amount of people that we draw from out of state, out of county, and surrounding areas. I'd ask that you consider this group. I would love to be a part of this as part of Friends of Muskegon Dog Beach, but whatever you decide, please consider that there are a number of us that we do want responsible dog ownership. We do want educated people at Dog Beach. We don't want waste in inappropriate areas, and we don't want to infringe on the rights of those who do not like dogs or who are afraid of dogs, who otherwise have issue with dogs. We don't want those things either. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, we ran into this problem probably a decade ago when there were issues at that time, and we were able to work through them. So with this information on hand, we'll see how we can work through it to the benefit of everyone. Are there any other members of the public? Sir.
Hello, my name is Brian Clancy, and I reside at 338 Yuba Street, Muskegon, Michigan. And I was coming to talk about some of the work that I've been doing in the community, and some of the garden work, and some of my cooperation with the city. As you know, I run the garden in Amont Park at the top of Marquette. And that in itself has been one of the reasons why we started it was to do environmental change, which is working pretty good. But one of the things that we have a concern about is our garden being able to sell some of the produce. Just because of the ongoing cost of community gardens and people not having money to put in the pot, some being able to sell would definitely give us a sustainability piece to it. And a lot of the grant work that I've been working with personally, and a lot of people in the growing food industry in Muskegon would like to have that ability to be self-sustainable. And I understand that it might be some issues with a farm bill, right to farm bill, but I think that that's your opportunity to become a leader and say, okay, if we have a problem with the right to farm bill, then we could be your advocates with the state or whoever that we need to make these changes with. It's a lot of stuff going on in Detroit, Lansing, and Flint with these community gardens, and we could actually join the fight and get the particulars of their ordinances to be included in our ordinance. Like I haven't seen the ordinance, but working with the city on the community garden ordinance, I thought we did a pretty good job of making a good ordinance with that, and I hope that you guys would consider the opportunities that we have in food in Muskegon. With community gardens, some of these lots will be worth more with a garden on it or food operation on it than just an empty lot. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Clancy. Are there any other members of the public that would like to address the?
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
How you doing?
Good, thank you kindly.
Good. I grew up in Muskegon all my life. My name is Ron Tufts.
We just need your name and.
Yeah, my name is Ron Tufts. I live at 3305 Rockland Road. I have a house on Lincoln Street. My aunt lives down in the curb before you get to Pierre Marquette Park. I have grandchildren. I've dealt with the dog beach for a long time, down at the lake. I've talked to people. And I was down there just this past week, and I parked by the filtration plant, had my wife with me. And 16 dogs were down there. I had a pit bull come up. Lady had it on a leash and hooked her leg. Didn't have control of the dog at all. Had another one, you know, and I'm dog friendly. Came up over there and ended up, you know, trying to do the same thing. Well, the sign there said $100 fine, you know, for crossing over. Well, the city, the officers, you know, are down there trying to be user friendly, make sure we're friendly to everybody, take care of business. But I've been down there with the grandkids, and I had to put both of them in my arms to keep them up from dogs that were running loose, and then people left it out of control. I've always had dogs, I love dogs, but I think somebody hit upon something here. This business of where they had a dog beach, they had a fenced-in area, controlled, not a place where people walk down a boardwalk with their kids and have to walk into feces. Not a place where I go down and go swimming and they test the water, and the coliform is such because the dogs have defecated in there that I can't swim with my kids. I think that if you're going to look at it, it should be a safe area for everybody. And from my Uncle Paul died running up the hill right by the waterworks there. My aunt lives over the hill, 1966. And ever since I've been a kid, other than Vietnam, down by the Middle Bent Jetty, that's my place I swim. And this year, I haven't been able to go down there because the direction that the people had for the dogs, I could sit there and count 16 or 18. And there's fine officers on the city of Muskegon, and I talked to them, and they were going to, you know, try to deal with the issue, which is great. The chief's got a good bunch of guys. But down at Bronson, if they're going to think about this, and all the commission and mayor, they're going to, if they had an area down there fenced off, you know, separate access down to where they're going to go, and restrict it where the curve is when you come down where they're fixing the road, and anything to the north of that curve through there should not be part of the dog beach. Okay?
That's how it's supposed to be.
I go down there, I put signs down there about cleaning up your dog waste. I've talked to people. You know, I'm a deputy sheriff. I could take a ticket book down there, but the city of Muskegon's got fine officers, you know, and they deal with things fine. But when you have ignorant people, they can't even control the dog. This lady had her leg cut down there the other day when I was with my wife. The leash went around her leg, and the dog was coming after me. And, you know, I think like Mr. Rappaport said, you know, if you have a controlled situation, but you can't have it out of control where the water's being polluted, and people are down there not showing respect for others' rights to be there. And we have some good people in Muskegon. Muskegon had a wonderful art fair over the weekend. I was down there, my daughter had a stand, and it's coming, you know. But our image can be tainted, you know, by the filth and other stuff that we got going on. And like I said, I've had dogs the whole time since I was a kid growing up. And Harrison and McCracken, my grandpa had Springer Spaniels like I've got. And it's just a great city. But I think, if you think about it, you should think about that area at Bronson, you know, the park there, and have it separated from where the public's going to go. Okay? And you can be user-friendly that way. And then when the sign says $100, I know, you know, if it's $100 fine, you know, you got to, you know, the officers are great. I'm sure that it wouldn't be very hard to control that just by allowing them to do that little bit of a job there. You know, it doesn't have to be a far-reaching thing, but word spreads when, you know, things are taken care of. And I know the chief well. I know he takes care of business here in Muskegon because things are improving. So I just want my wife to be able, like when I'm working, I still work part-time for the sheriff. In the afternoon when she goes down there, she's afraid because, you know, the dogs come after her down there. And she was pretty incensed the other day, and she stood and waited for the officer. He went clean down to the other park down there and come back, and she talked to him. You know, we talked to him. And it's something that I think, you know, for public safety and the cleanliness and everything, you've got to think about, you know? And I just appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Deb.
Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public? Sir.
Billy Reisner, live at 1887 Latarte, Muskegon. Found out about this through Facebook, actually. My wife and I have been going down to the dog beach since we moved here. which is 9 years now. Love the city. I'm always defending it. You know, I was just telling people today about it, and then I saw that somebody was coming here saying, "Oh, we got to get rid of the dog park." In my vehicle right now, I probably have about 100 grocery bags because we routinely go by the park to make sure that's full.
Right.
There's days we miss, there's days we don't. When we go there, we pick up trash, we pick up, you know, litter, we pick up other piles of dog poop. You know, we're responsible because we love it, we want to keep it. Do I agree with the gentleman here where the one side probably should have a fence to really block people in? I think that's a great idea, actually. But the idea of getting rid of it, no. I've met so many people there who have come from across the state to Muskegon for that reason and would never have come here otherwise. And they come here to vacation now because they know they can take their dogs there. So just quite simply, it's awesome and part of the reason I stay here. So, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public? Ma'am?
Hello. My name is Cindy Miller, and I live at 1899 Arbor Avenue, approximately 1 mile from our wonderful dog park. And I'm also a staff member at Pound Buddies Animal Shelter and Rescue, and I've been a dog owner for 19 years. I've been with Pound Buddies for 3 years, and we have a staff and volunteers of 500 plus people, and with a wonderful dog community. And we're working on educating the public, and we have decreased the euthanization of area dogs in Muskegon County, and we are very proud of that. And so I'm just going to be an advocate for our dog beach, and I personally go there with my dogs, and I do pick up after other people's dogs as well as my own. And so, and if I do see somebody with a bag, or excuse me, with a dog that has pottied, I'll just say, oh, reminder, oh, I think you need a bag here, here you go. And so that has worked as well. I can also help with the Friends of Muskegon Dog Beach as to contact the director of Pound Buddies to see if we can form a little group or something as well, or help with these guys over here into more of the cleanup as well. We are dog lovers, and we enjoy doing that very much. And so thank you for hearing me.
Absolutely, thank you.
Oh, and more garbage cans on there, you know, just a couple more garbage cans maybe. I've noticed that I do walk from Cruise Park and then go down, and I have a bag full and I have no place to put it, so I have to carry it back with me, so, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public that would like to address the commission? Okay. As we move forward on any of these issues, I'd like to remind the public that for any of the amenities that are provided by fellow citizens, ultimately, it's up to all of us to respect them, to use them correctly, and it goes back to our entire attitudes and how we treat each other as neighbors. How we treat our houses, our yards, our belongings, and those of others. And the park in question belongs to all of us. So for any of us, whether we're townies or out-of-towners, to come in and lay waste to it, shame on you. And unless we do get a handle on it, as it was stated a decade ago, if we're unable to make those improvements in behavior, it puts the use of, you know, the park at risk, and just not dog beaches. It could be the way we handle any of our public properties if it's being used incorrectly. You know, it puts us all at risk of those assets, so. But we will be working diligently on all the issues brought forth this evening. And with that, Commissioner Hood.
I move to adjourn.
Second?
It's been moved by Commissioner Hood, seconded by the Vice Mayor to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out.